All right, Shalom. This is Har 1 by Yasharahla of the Lionz Den camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Harakah Kodash, Ma'amah, that belong to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, and Akwatim and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. This is in response to Apostle Tahar's, request for all camps to do a response to or a breakdown on Daniel 11 and 28. So I got it in the chat, group chat this morning from one of the brothers in the camp, the bar. So I'm going to try to go into it real quick. I'm not going to do the whole chapter from request of Apostle Tahar, and may go into some parts of it since it kind of struck my spiritual nerve, kind of exciting to go into the scripture. So 11 and 28 is basically speaking of Antiochus IV, being on the scene around 170 BC. All right, he started ruling around 175. All right, after Seleucid the fifth or the fourth, Seleucid the fourth, and Heliodorus. All right, so when he came into power, he was the only king of the Syrian Empire, or the Seleucid Empire, that ever tried to take away the Holy Covenant from Jerusalem, and none of the other rulers ever tried to take that away from us. He was the one that stepped in and started pushing the policies and culture of paganism on our people, and took away the Holy Covenant, and basically ransacked and desecrated our temple during the times of 168 BC, which led to the rededication of our temple with Judas Maccabees, right? The Maccabean revolt, which lasted till about 164 BC, all right, when Antiochus the fourth died. So just a briefing on that. I want to go into this scripture real quick, make it quick. Daniel 11 and 28, it says, "Then shall he return to his land, into his land with great riches." All right, what was Antiochus the fourth land? It was Syria, all right, but today called Antioch. All right, it says, "And his heart shall be against the Holy Covenant," right? At that moment, he had gained a lot of great riches from going against Ptolemy the sixth. He was going against Ptolemy the sixth, and they were appealing to Rome, both of them, in the prior scripture. I may go into that sometime. But they were appealing to Rome, and both fighting over Palestine, Syria, Seola, Syria, and what's called Phoenicia, which would be like Judea. All right, because all of those provinces were taken by Antiochus III, their forefather. And when Antiochus III died, that's when you had Seleucid, the fifth ruler. And then Seleucid was killed after he sent Heliodorus into Jerusalem to steal money to try to pay the Romans. You see that? And Heliodorus was a Jake. He was an Israelite. And the Lord sent angels to kick his ass. Sent 3 angels to beat his ass. And they met him and kicked his ass, and scared the shit out of him and turned him into a prophet. He wound up speaking his testimony that he, spoken of in the book of Maccabees. But then on his way back, he wound up killing or assassinating Seleucid the fourth. All right. So once he was killed, that's when you had Antiochus come on the scene, and Heliodorus was ousted by Antiochus IV, and this was around 173 or 173 BC, and next thing you know, around 170 you had because you had Heliodorus, he wound up setting up Seleucus IV's son Antiochus as a ruler, after he killed his father, Seleucus IV. Heliodorus killed him. So after he killed him, he set up Seleucus' son as ruler, Antiochus. So that's when you had Antiochus IV, which was Seleucus' brother. He was on the scene, and he killed Antiochus. Antiochus IV killed young Antiochus, which was the son of Seleucus IV, his brother. All right, and then he ousted Heliodorus. So when Seleucus IV came into power, he went up against Egypt. He started pushing those pagan customs on our people, and he needed money to pay off the Romans. They was all about getting money to pay off their Roman debt for their that their dad has built up. I think called indemnities. It was like a tax for going to war. And since he was going to war, that tax was still on his family. And that's how Antiochus IV became a hostage at Rome after his dad died, right? Antiochus III. He became a hostage at Rome. He got out because Seleucus IV got him out by giving up his own son, Demetrius, as a hostage. And so Demetrius never made it to the throne under his father, Seleucus IV, all right, dealing with the whole Heliodorus situation. Instead, they put Antiochus in power. Then Antiochus IV killed him, took the throne, and then that's when he went up against Egypt. And because Egypt, Antiochus, Ptolemy VI, he was going to invade those areas that he felt he owned, called Seola, Syria, Palestine and Phoenicia, all right? So he felt he owned those areas. So next thing you know, you had Antiochus IV. He's when Ptolemy VI decided to go and take those areas around 173 BC, you had Antiochus IV paying off his debt. He was paying off that debt to the Romans. He paid it off all the way up until from 173 to 170, and that's all prophetic. That means the time appointed. And that gave him access with the Romans to go against those areas. But then the Romans flipped on him later. So now you have Antiochus IV. He went to stop Ptolemy VI invasion going into Palestine. He went to go stop that, and then he defeated the Egyptian army, and he took those lands. All right, he took a few of those lands, and then that's when he went back to what you call Antioch, to Syria, with his riches. And that's what the scripture is talking about right here. It says 28, Daniel 11 and 28. Then shall he return into his land with great riches. All right, and that land is Antioch. And his heart shall be against the holy covenant. See, his mind, his thoughts were still against Israel. All right, and that's when he set up puppet rulers over Israel. You see that? And his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land. So he came up against us around 169, and he would what he would do is that's when you get first Maccabees, with when he started paganizing our people. our people became what? Hellenized. He started Hellenizing the Jews. And part of our people became Hellenistic, meaning Greeks. And then a part of us stayed with the covenant. And that's when you get the whole establishment of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. All right, the Sadducees, they stuck with the whole Greek custom where they didn't believe in spiritual life or the spirit, life after death. They didn't believe in the Messiah. They didn't believe in a lot. So you had the Pharisees. They believed in the covenant, but they believed in it so much in the law that they'll put somebody to death, or they'll tell you had to be circumcised. So that's when you get what you call later, during the time of Yahushua, when they came up against Yahushua, they came together and was called the Sanhedrin. That was the ruling government of Jerusalem at that time, of Yahushua. So going back, to 169 BC, with Antiochus IV, he started Hellenizing our people in the book of Maccabees. And now you had Antiochus, he went up against Egypt twice. So the second time he went up against Egypt, he was rejected. All right. So before I get that, let me get this real quick. All right. This is, where is it at? Okay. First Maccabees 1 and 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes. All right. So Antiochus IV, this is what it's talking about. Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes. All right. And this guy started ruling right after Seleucus IV. All right, Seleucus IV ruled from 187 to 175. All right. And then that's when he was assassinated by Heliodorus, an Israelite, spoken of in 2 Maccabees chapter 3. All right. So so I'm gonna get this real quick. Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king. So he was descendant of Antiochus III. All right. Who had been in hostage at Rome. So Antiochus IV, he became a hostage at Rome to pay off the debt for his father, after his death. And he reigned but he was freed by Seleucus IV. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks, right? If you go back to 312 BC, it'll bring you up to 175. Because 312 BC is when what you call the Diadochi was fully established, all right? With his forefathers, Antiochus, Seleucus, all right? So now you had, I think it was Seleucus, Lysimachus, Cassander, and Ptolemy. Because that was basically the death of Antigonus, and that's what established the Diadochi in 312 BC, which established the Syrian Empire as the home base of paganism, or the Hellenistic successors called the Diadochi. And now from that you have a wicked root, and he ruled in 175 BC. And in those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go up and make a covenant with the heathen. So they let you know that in Antiochus and his bloodline, they're all heathens. So that's Esau. The heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. And then certain of the people were sore forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. So in 169 BC, that's why in Daniel 11, they said his heart was against the Holy Covenant, because he gave license and set his policies against our people. And he said, hey, man, I'm putting y'all pagan Hellenized Jews, Israelites, over the Israelites of the circumcision that knew they would, that believed in the covenant. All right. And it says, So it gave them due license after the ordinances of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen. Right? They would make the men fight in games or wrestle or dance or do weird demonic shit, and they would make us do it naked, so they would see if we circumcised, and if we were circumcised, then they would put us to death. All right, so that's what they mean. They would make us that, and that's why you have in the gyms, they motherfuckers be half naked, or the Olympics, it's a damn cesspool. All right. So it says, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. So the circumcision became uncircumcision. And some take it as they were taking fake skins and putting it on so they wouldn't get killed, man. All right, but that's twofold. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, so that's why it goes into Daniel 11. This matches up perfect. He thought to reign over Egypt. All right, and that goes with Daniel 11 and 25. You know, so he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion over two realms. All right, so he wanted those areas of Phoenicia and Palestine. All right, because he already had part of Seola, Syria. So what do we call it? Seola, Syria. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled. Many were wounded to death. All right, that matches up perfectly with the scripture. That's when Antiochus IV got all them riches, and he went back to his own land. All right, so it says verse 19. Now he got, and mind you, the Greeks, they got the elephants from going to war against Darius III. All right, and from 334 BC to 330 BC with Alexander the Greek. And that was the first time they seen them elephants, man. And they were scared as shit. They called them monsters or beasts. They didn't even know what the hell they were. So they started using those later in battles, you know. So, but you had an Israelite that killed one of those few of those elephants later on in Maccabees. All right, but anyway, I'm gonna keep reading. It says, verse 19, thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took and he took the spoils thereof. So he took all the spoils, all the riches. All right, and after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. So he returned later in 168 BC. All right, and that's when he came up against Jerusalem. So he came up against Egypt, and he came up against Egypt twice, and the second time he came up against Israel as well. All right, because he had lost when he came up against Egypt the second time. You had an army over in Shittim, which today is called Cyprus, the Roman army. They met against him and they backed him down. They backed Antiochus down. So he was salty about that. He was upset. And on his way back, he took it out on us. And actually, on his way back, that's when you have the situation in Maccabees where the revolt happened. All right, where the brothers thought right, with Menelaus and Jason. All right, and then they revolted against Antiochus's setup. And then that's when the revolt happened, because they thought that Antiochus had died in the war against Egypt. And then when he showed up and he found out that his puppet ruler was ousted, that's when Antiochus took it out on us and came against our people, ransacked the temple, put swines on the altar and desecrated the altar, set up garrisons, military regimes all around our area, cutting off anybody that would try to get away or come out. They would kill us and burn parts of it down. And then that's when you had Mattathias and Judas Maccabees show up in 167 BC. All right. And he fought until we got the temple back. And Judas Maccabees died in 160 BC. But anyway, that's what this is going into. And so the second time, right? Verse 20. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel in Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof. See that? So he came up against us. And now check this out. So that's what this is talking about the second time, because he had lost the battle against Egypt because the Roman army stepped in. This is Daniel 11 and 28. Then shall he return to his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land. At the time appointed, he shall return, and that goes with Daniel 9 and 24. All right. And at the time appointed, where was that? And also Daniel 8, if I'm not mistaken. And at the time appointed, he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. See, before, Rome ain't want nothing to do with it. But this time, Rome stepped in and they took the side of their ally, Ptolemy VI. All right, it says, for the ships of Shittim shall come against him. And the Shittim represents Cyprus, and that's a Roman province at that time. All right, matter of fact, all right, this is Daniel 11 and 30. And it says Shittim, right? Oops, let me go back to the Shittim, which would be Kittim, which would be today called Cyprus. And it's at that time called Cyprus. Later, it says the Greeks or Romans or the shores opposite Palestine. All right, so that was a Roman province. So the Roman army came against them and stopped them. All right, so now it says here, verse 30, for the ships of Shittim shall come against him. Therefore, he shall be grieved and return. You know, the scriptures are perfect, man, and accurate. And this was spoken by Daniel back before he left the earth, man. I want to get into that as well. This was, you know, this was right before he was given this prophecy, right before he left the earth, man. You know, after the fall of Babylon. Now, it says this, for the ships of Shittim, the Roman army, shall come against him. Therefore, so it was different this time. All right, they took the side of the Egyptians, or the Macedonian Egyptians, which were Greeks, Edomites, which was Ptolemy the fourth. All right, the sixth, Ptolemy the sixth. Therefore, he shall be grieved, so he was salty, and returned and have indignation against the holy covenant. So he took it out on us. All right, and that happened in 168 BC. So shall he do, he shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. And that's when you have Menelaus and all them, man. All right, and his puppet rulers that he was setting up. All right. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice. And that's what I just read in the book of Maccabees. And they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And that was their idols to Zeus that they were worshiping. All right. And their pagan customs even today. All right. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their power shall be strong and do exploits, man. Just like today, man. So hopefully that was edifying, man. And I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahushai, Ba Hashem, Harakah Kodash, Ma'amath, and double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. And shalom to you, Akim, Nakwatim, and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. And I'm just excited and thankful to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua that the Spirit was put on Apostle Tahar to put that challenge out there, because this leads to a lot of different studies, because, you know, we're in the time of Purim, all right? And also, you know, kind of the same Spirit is on the same time of Hanukkah, you know? So of us being liberated and free from oppression, all right, and bondage. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.